Welcome to the Stack of Stats podcast. I am your host, Pam Maldonado, joined by my college football guy, Harry Gagnon from the Against All Odds podcast with Cousin Sal. And we're here to bring you all the analytics behind the college football bets. Harry, welcome and thank you for joining me once again. It is week 2 of this contest that we are in. Well, we didn't do so well last week. What do you think happened?
Look, we had A&M minus 17. The quarterback goes out of the game. He's going to be out for probably a little over a month. So that was a tough one when you're laying a lot of points. Hey, listen, we went 3-4, not the worst. We're right there. Let's get a 6-1 week here. How about that?
I like the sound of that. It's easier said than done, especially when you throw at me these big ass favorites. Harry, you're going to kill me each and every week. So what we are doing, just to explain what it is we are in a contest. We are doing 7 picks against the spread. It's the option between college football and NFL, but we both love college football so much that we end up most likely are going to have 7 against the spread picks in college. What we're doing is Harry's giving me his absolute fire. These are my best 3 convictions. I'm giving him my absolute fire. These are my best 3 convictions. Harry sent me his list and he has some big ass favorites. And I am an underdog better. And so here's the balance. Let's just get into it.
In my defense, Pam.
There's a defense.
In my defense, 3 big favorites. But I will say this: one of them is the best team in the country,
absolutely,
and another one is a favorite in the MAC, which you love betting. So at least I took a MAC team. Okay.
Yes, give me some action. We're in September. I love it. We'll start off with that best team that you were talking about, Alabama minus 15. This is Harry's number 1 best pick. He likes him to cover on the road against Florida. Tell me why, man.
Yeah, look, I don't like laying points. I especially don't love laying double digits. Especially don't love laying double digits on the road. We're talking about Alabama. Bryce Young has been unbelievable so far. 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. Saban loves what he's doing on the field. They look fantastic. They were great against Miami. And Florida doesn't have Kyle Trask anymore. He plays in the state of Florida, but he plays for the Tampa Bay Bucks now. He doesn't play for Florida. And right now, Florida's having a lot of problems quarterback-wise. 4 interceptions through 2 games, no touchdown passes. I know it seems like a lot of points here, and they played a great game in the SEC championship game last year. Florida did against Alabama. I believe they lost like 52-46. But they can't put up those points anymore because they don't have the quarterback play. And I just don't see. I don't like laying those points. But when we're talking about Alabama, they've looked so smooth. I got to keep rolling with them.
I don't disagree with this one. And because I actually just did an article, I did a preview for this game. I did an article about the Heisman. Bryce Young, he's the plus 325, the quarterback for Alabama to win the Heisman Trophy right now. And he's a favorite for a reason. And his odds, I think, are going to drop even further down from plus 325 because of this Florida defense. They weren't a good defense last year, and they're definitely not a good defense this year. They're in the bottom half of opposing passing yards allowed, 73rd in opponent yards per pass. And that's because they played Florida Atlantic and South Florida. Well, now you're getting the best coach in Nick Saban. You're getting one of the best quarterbacks in Bryce Young, who looks freaking fantastic. And he's the Heisman Trophy winner. He is going to slash this defense. So for that reason, I don't mind taking Alabama on the road minus 15. My one scare, and you mentioned it, this quarterback situation that they have at Florida, we're kind of in the middle. I think we're in potentially could see a quarterback change in this game because Emory Jones, he's not good. He is not. You want to
4
talk
picks?
4 picks, and he only has 1 touchdown pass. He's not very good. But have you seen Anthony Richardson? This guy, he's plus 4,000 to win the Heisman. I did put a little sprinkle on him. I think we're going to see a quarterback change in this game because his numbers are freaking phenomenal. Phenomenal for a backup quarterback. He has 6 completions, 192 yards, 17 and a half yards per pass. 75
against garbage, though. Against garbage.
This is true. This is very true. But he's also a dual threat quarterback
Bama coming to town.
You got Bama. You know what? I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm excited for Anthony Richardson. I hope that they do see a quarterback change. But regardless, if they do bring in a quarterback, this defense stinks. Give me Alabama minus 15. I love it. We'll stick to it. Another pick that you have is Maction Toledo minus. I don't like this hook for the contest. It is 14 and a half, but they're on our card. What do you think? I'm not a huge believer in Toledo this season. Why are you?
Well, they did play one heck of a game against Notre Dame on the
did.
road last week. They really probably should have won that game. They have scored 78 points in their first two games, but this is really even more of a bet against Colorado State than a pick that I'm taking the Rockets. This is one of the worst Colorado State teams I can remember in history. They've lost to South Dakota State by 20. They lost to Vanderbilt, both of them at home. For that reason, and what Toledo proved to their program and themselves this past week against the Irish, they can hang with anybody. I think they just blow out Colorado State from the very beginning.
I don't dislike that either. So far, these are two big ass favorites. Yeah. But I think there's a big enough reason to back both of them. The third team that you have that you submitted, the biggest big ass favorite of them all. I saw this and I was like, okay, I like this team. And then I saw the line. I was like, what? All right, let's take it back here. Iowa State minus 31 and a half.
31 and a half.
Yo, that's a big ass spread.
Huge number.
And they're on the road traveling to UNLV. Harry, 31 and a half.
Now, I understand how you just said you can back Alabama. You can back Toledo. But not backing Iowa State. Listen, I can hear that. I can understand that, especially the way they played these first two games. They haven't put up any points. Now, I will say this. I know you did like Iowa over Iowa State last week, and they dominated the game for the most part. But overall here, if you look at the numbers in that game, just Iowa State couldn't put it in the end zone. They held Iowa to only 173 yards for the entire game. Right. So head coach Matt Campbell has faith still in quarterback Brock Purdy, and so do I. I have faith in Breece Hall to get it done against the Rebels, who are just awful defensively. UNLV gave up 471 total yards to 1AA Eastern Washington, in which they lost, and against an Arizona State team last week who just was going through the motions, got 465 yards. UNLV's over-under for the season in terms of wins was only 1.5. Oh. Come on, Iowa State, wake up. And Iowa State, mind you, I told the guys they gave me some ribbing about it on Against All Odds this week about my Iowa State pick to win the Big 12. Listen, they did lose to that they lost Iowa game, but that wasn't a conference game. They didn't play well against Northern Iowa, but I did say they're not dead yet because, listen, if you beat Oklahoma, you get to Oklahoma, you get to play Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. You beat Oklahoma twice. Who knows what happens at the end of the season if that happens. Iowa State puts it together this week, Pam. I promise you. Iowa State puts it together, and they crush UNLV by 40.
Some other stats to help you be swayed that, yes, they will absolutely crush. I would also, if you are for betting purposes, instead of maybe taking the spread, also look to the UNLV team total under. And the reason for that is because Iowa State, yes, they couldn't do squat last week, and it was because of that quarterback pressure. Well, UNLV doesn't have a pass rush whatsoever. They're 100th in quarterback pressure. They're 128th in total offense. And what Iowa had done to them last week, they're going to do to UNLV this week. Iowa State is top 20 in quarterback pressure with sack percentage, and UNLV is 118th out of there's only 130 team guys in quarterback protection. So I don't think UNLV is going to get any type of ground game going. They're not going to be able to pass. They're not going to be able to put up points. So for this reason, I agree. Quarterback pressure, terrible offensive line. Let's go. Big ass spread minus 31 and a half. Let's get it covered.
Big ass spread. And you know what? Iowa State hasn't covered, obviously, the first two games. And everyone's going to look at this game. And I think it's, a lot of times it differs from week to week. When people will be like, 31 and a half or whatever it is. And Iowa State looked like crap last week. No way am I taking – this is the perfect week to jump on them. They roll UNLV.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm going to roll over to now those are your three games that I said, cool. Those are your three best. My three best. I'm going to start with West Virginia -3 at home to Virginia Tech. I was actually against West Virginia in their opening game because they're a terrible road team. They are just not good. Quarterback how do you say it? Jarrett Dagey. I learned how to say that today. His road splits If you see his splits, they're freaking terrible. Away, he has a 61% completion, 6.5 average. He had just 3 passing touchdowns in all away games last season. He was sacked 13 times. But when he plays at home, he kind of comes alive. 67% completion, 7.5 average, 11 touchdowns, and to 7 sacks. And that's carrying over into the 2021 season because they lost their opening road game as 3-point favorites. Now, it's not just the quarterback, it is also this defense. Away, the West Virginia defense allows 355 total yards. When they play at home, 233. Virginia Tech, they're not going to be able to move the ball. I think West Virginia comfortably takes this away. I think the under is also worth a look, but I love West Virginia Mountaineers laying the points at home where they just like historically do better. What do you think?
I'm down with that. And Virginia Tech lost their tight end, James Mitchell, for the season. He was their second leading receiver. He had one of the 2 receiving touchdowns the Hokies have had so far this season. West Virginia, the big game, big game for West Virginia here because next week they're on the road at Oklahoma. So they really do need this one. And Virginia Tech, they played a great game, especially defensively against North Carolina, beating North Carolina in Chapel Hill. It was a big win for Virginia Tech. But now after this game, they do get the next 4 games at home in Blacksburg. And especially it's keyed by October 9th. They play the Irish at home. So maybe they let down a little bit of their guard in this game. And like you said, West Virginia is a totally different team at home. Small number here. Let's go with the Mountaineers. Let's get a W there, Pam.
Virginia Tech's best defense is against the run. What does West Virginia do? They pass. Another game that we like to be on our card is Kansas State +2 at home. This is going to scare some people off because K-State's quarterback Skylar Thompson, he's actually out. He played a half game last week and he left the game from injury. He's unknown as to whether he's going to be back this season or not, but he is not a concern to me because Skylar Thompson, through 1.5 games, has 0 passing touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. And Nevada, they're a fantastic team. I love them. I actually took them to cover in week 1, but they played Cal and FCS. K-State, they played Stanford and FCS. But Kansas, they're a run-first team, and the star of the game is not going to be the quarterback, is instead going to be the running back in Deuce Vaughn, who accounts for 4 of the 7 total scores. They don't score much. 4 of the 7 total rushing scores, and he had 244 rushing yards in 2 games. And Nevada, they are a pass-heavy team. And what is the Big 12? Nothing but passing teams. And we have seen K-State do well against these passing teams like Oklahoma. They somehow just have their number. Heavy passing team. I love this matchup. And another matchup that's going to really come into play here, aside from this run game, is the K-State pass rush, who has accumulated 9 sacks on the season. And Nevada quarterback in Carson Strong. I love him. Fantastic quarterback. We're going to see him in the NFL. Good. He's not going to be a good quarterback this week. He has another quarterback situation where their splits are very telling. 19 touchdowns at home, only 8 touchdowns away, and it kind of played into week 1. They did win the game. Nevada won the game at Cal, but he had 2 interceptions. He had 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, and those interceptions could definitely come into play for this week. Anything that you can help to hey, you love it or hate this?
I know I like it because look, Nevada got their win against Cal to start the season, so they won a nice non-conference game against a big Power 5 team. That was a nice win for the Wolfpack. But Kansas State, you mentioned Deuce Vaughn. Both games, 120 or more yards rushing. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns. And Kansas State's win against Stanford may not look so great at the beginning of the season, but because Stanford's over-under was 4.5 wins for the season, but Stanford just got done rolling USC in the Coliseum. So looks a lot better for Kansas State. And I think Kansas State's defense is going to show up too. So far through the couple of games, they've got 9 total sacks. They forced 5 turnovers. Nevada likes to play defense and keep games low. With this defense of Kansas State, maybe they take control of the game and we get the cover here. Nevada comes close maybe, but we get the cover with Kansas State.
And I'm not much of a trend person, but there is a trend that falls into line perfectly with this. And it is Kansas State is 12-4 straight up in the last 3 seasons at home. And they are also 7-2 against the spread as a home dog under head coach Jay Norvell.
And you know what? That's great. You know what also too, Pam, is I think Kansas State really has to have this game kind of. Their next 3 games are killer games on the schedule. They're at Oklahoma State, then they have Oklahoma, and then Iowa State. 3 straight games, tough ones. you got to have this one. Like I said, Nevada got their non-conference win, a nice one against Cal. So maybe they give up. They don't play so hard here. I mean, they play hard here, but they don't get enough here because of Kansas State's defense, and Kansas State gets a cover.
I like it. We're going to move on to then Duke +3 is my third best bet for this week. +120 on the money line. I love Duke in this spot. And looking at Northwestern, they're at home against Northwestern. Northwestern, they played Michigan State. This is going to be a complete repeat of that game where they lost 38-21. And they also played an FCS team afterward, but they allowed 326 rushing yards to Michigan State, 8.8 yards per carry. What do you think Duke does? Exactly that. They just like run the ball up and down the field. This game, also the one concern is that Duke, they did lose to Charlotte. They lost 31-28, but against Charlotte, they allowed 352 rushing yards, 8.0. They had 352 rushing yards, 8.0 average, and they allowed 324 passing, 10.8 yards per pass. Well, what does Northwestern do? They're a passing team. So this is going to be Northwestern who passes, Duke who rushes, and both of their defenses suck at defending such. So this is going to be similar to Northwestern's loss to Michigan State, similar to Duke's loss to Charlotte. But what was the difference maker there is one, Charlotte is a pretty good team, and Duke, they got demolished by Michigan State. And Duke had 2 giveaways. They had 2 fumbles, one at the goal line. That really made the difference from them having a win and not. And looking at Duke, they're 27-7 straight up. They're 26-8 against the spread versus non-conference opponents. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, the game against Michigan State for Northwestern, Kenneth Walker. Ran all over them. He was running back from Michigan State Spartans. He ran all over Northwestern in their route of the Wildcats. Duke can score, Duke can definitely score. They've got 73 points through their first 2 games. The running back, Mateo Durant, averaging 6.7 yards a carry. He's got 6 touchdowns on the ground. He's got almost 400 yards of total offense through 2 games. And you mentioned, Northwestern, they got routed by Michigan State, which was kind of a surprise to a lot of people, especially the way it happened because Pat Fitzgerald usually has a pretty good defense at Northwestern. They ran all over them. And then they only did score, like you mentioned, they played Indiana State, the Sycamores, a 1AA school, only put up 24 points here. I just think, like you mentioned, Duke can run, they can score, and I think kill the clock, keep Northwestern off the field, and I think they get the cover. Nice win here for Duke.
All right, Harry, that gives us 6 games. We have Alabama -15, Toledo -14.5, Iowa State -31.5, big ass spread. We have West Virginia.
Listen, when it's 42-0 at halftime, I'm texting you. I'm gonna ride.
We have West Virginia -3, K-State at home +2, and Duke +3. That is 6 games. We need a 7th. What do you think we should do with the 7th pick? Should we go off of your list? And I'm going to read them out loud. Some of the options from your list is Northern Illinois, Purdue, Ole Miss, or we have options from my list, Arkansas State +17 at Washington. We have Marshall at home -10 against East Carolina. What do you think we should do with, I have Penn State also -5.5 at home against Auburn. What are some of the options? What do you think we should do with the 7th one?
I do like it's another big favorite. I do like Ole Miss against Tulane. Quarterback Matt Corral. I got him at 13-1 to win the Heisman myself. He's now second behind Bryce Young at like 5-1. He's got 6 touchdowns, no picks. He's put up big numbers, and Ole Miss 97 points through the first 2 games of the season. So I like that one, but I also like a dog. I like a MAC dog in Northern Illinois getting 27. Michigan's covered their first 2 games. They look pretty good, but Northern Illinois can score too. 65 points in their first 2 games. The running back, Harrison Wiley, 6.1 yards a carry. He's got like 3 touchdowns combined, rushing and receiving this year. So and Northern Iowa's played some Illinois played some good opponents this year and played tough. So I like the big number here, especially with Michigan coming into the Big Ten season. They've already covered, like I said, the first 2 at home. Maybe they take it easy here. Jim Harbaugh takes it easy, and they don't get the cover here. I like Northern Illinois a little bit, and I like Ole Miss as a big favorite.
You talked about a couple of games, so I'll go ahead and talk about a couple of games as well. Starting first with Marshall -10 at home against East Carolina. I'm going to keep it simple. The Thundering Herd, they are first in quarterback pressure. They have produced 12 total sacks. Yes, it was against Navy and an FCS team, but still to stuff stats like that typically do carry over. And the Pirates, they are 116th in quarterback protection. They have given up 9 sacks to their quarterback. They are a pass first team, and they have just 3 passing touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I don't see how East Carolina scores here. Marshall -10 at home. Another team that I liked was Penn State at home against Auburn. And the reason for this is because the Tigers, they're 2-0 and straight up. They're 2-0 against the spread. They are 3rd in total offense. They are 6th in total defense. Quarterback Bo Nix, Heisman Trophy winner. People are going nuts over this. You played Akron and an FCS team. Let's be real. Penn State, they played Wisconsin and in 2020 MAC champs in Ball State, and they completely routed them. Auburn, they're 3-7 straight up and against the spread in true road openers. And away, Bo Nix, 10-2 at home. He is 4-5 away. Nix, when he is playing at home, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, including this season. When Bo Nix travels, 10 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 21 total sacks in his college career. Give me Penn State. They're not the best of teams, but neither is Bo Nix. And I am not at all believing, hey, you beat up Akron. Good for you.
Yeah, I was going to mention Bo Nix is a different quarterback when he's on the road, but he's got some couple years under his belt now, though. So
maybe
Penn State played a nice game, especially defensively against Wisconsin. Got the win on the road, nice win for them. But it's interesting. An SEC school here getting 6.5 points from a Big Ten school. It seems like it's too many here. Nix has to show up on the road one time in his career, one time for a big game. Little fishy here, so I'm a little hesitant about laying that number. But very intriguing on your Thunder and Herd selection. I like that one. Maybe we should go with that one.
Well, I have one more option. We have Arkansas State +17 and at +17 at Washington. Tell me, am I like totally crazy and thinking like, what the fuck with this spread? I saw Washington 17 and I was like, what? You're 0-2 straight up.
17.
You can't even score 17 points. Exactly. And now Arkansas State is #1 passing offense in all of college football. And why they have what I love about Arkansas State is that they have a 2 quarterback system. Usually that means, oh, they're not good. Quite opposite. James Blackman, Lane Hatchard, 9 combined touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Washington quarterback Dylan Morris, he has 1 passing touchdown, 3 interceptions, and 7 sacks. And what do the Red Wolves have? One hell of a pass rush. And the Huskies, they are fake. This is as fake as you can get. They are 2nd in passing defense. Michigan is a run-first team who had 15 attempts and 44 yards. Last year, they were 10th in passing defense. They played 4 games, and 3 of those were against passing teams ranked 76 or worse. They finally did face a passing team in Stanford, who's ranked 21st, and they lost. Arkansas State, I'm not only this is a personal bet. I have taken it. It is +17, and I even put some on the money line +580. I can understand if we keep away from that. Here's what I'm going to do. I like your Ole Miss pick. I actually do. Here's my screen. I'm going to show you real quick highlight. I highlighted it.
Nice.
No one's going to see my little thing. I highlighted it. I love it. I think what we can do, we'll go with one of your picks this week, and then next week we can do the 7th pick.
Sure?
Can be
Okay.
Mine. Let's alternate because I like Matt Corral too. I like Matt Corral, and I really hope that he is a Heisman contender. And he's running out of options. He needs to put up these points if he wants to be better because you have Alabama on deck. Oh no, maybe we shouldn't be putting Ole Miss because next they do face Alabama.
Yeah. That's why I like them, but I understand the situation with having that Alabama game next week. Maybe they want to put up a big performance too. I get it. He's their 2nd leading rusher as well. But let's back off of Ole Miss here because of that reason. I think we go with your Marshall.
Let's go with Marshall, and then you pick a 7th pick next week.
Sure, let's do that.
Marshall.
I like how like you said, the pressure that Marshall brings and the turnover possibilities that East Carolina has. Bad offensive line that could turn into
a blowout,
sack, fumbles, and you get quick points because of the turnovers. I like the turnover situation maybe there in that type of game. Quick points for Marshall, blowout. Let's go with Thundering Herd.
Perfect. So then our 7 picks are Alabama -15, Toledo -14.5, Iowa State -31.5, West Virginia -3, K-State +2, Duke +3, and Marshall -10. Those are our 7 picks for the college football contest that we are in. Make sure you do check out Harry's work on bestbetcorner.com and extrapoints.com and on the Against All Spread podcast with Cousin Sal. You can also follow Harry on Twitter at AAOHarry. You can follow me on Twitter at Pamela M35. Harry, my man, thank you so much for joining me again this week. I can't wait to do it again with you next week.
Come on, Pam. Let's turn this around. 3-4 is that's for amateurs. We're not amateurs. Come on.
We are going 7-0 this week.
Let's do it. Awesome. Thanks, Pam.
That does it for another episode of Stacks of